Next on NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen.
The healthier the environment we have, the more it produces.
We visit the Roaring Springs Ranch in Oregon, where the focus is on sustainability. Plus, we're straightening out the facts of BRD. And we'll show you how the beef industry is reaching out to educate members of Congress.
And now, NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen with your host, Susie Ross.
Hello, I'm Susie Ross. Thanks for watching Cattlemen to Cattlemen. Another suspension of beef trade with South Korea leads this week's cattle industry news. Korea suspended quarantine inspections after finding bone-in products in a recent shipment. Korea currently imports only boneless beef from cattle under 30 months of age. A similar shutdown occurred in August, lasting about 3 weeks, but experts think trade could take longer to resume this time. U.S. and Korean officials are meeting to establish a new trade protocol that may include some bone-in cuts. This would greatly expand the market's potential, but may require some time to achieve. Natural beef is becoming a popular item with consumers, but what should cattle producers know about this growing market? We have more in this week's Market Watch.
Market Watch, brought to you by Pfizer Animal Health.
Joining us this week are Mel Coleman, chairman of Coleman Natural Foods, and Dennis Stiffler, executive vice president of Food Safety and Quality Management. Gentlemen, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Great to have you here. Mel, let's start with you. Can you please tell us a little bit about Coleman Natural Foods?
Well, today Coleman Natural Foods is a company that offers both natural and organic beef, poultry, pork, and lamb products. But in the early days, the way that it started out is that we were a long-time fifth-generation Colorado ranching family that was tied into selling our calves into the commodity markets. And one evening at the dinner table, my sister-in-law was talking about some friends of hers that were looking for beef that had come from animals that had never had any growth hormones. And so it was an idea that clicked with Dad. So he saved back some calves, fattened those calves, and then was going to provide, the goal that he had was to provide consumers an alternative.
Dennis, we know that organic beef has a pretty standard definition. When Coleman uses the term natural, what exactly does that mean?
USDA's current definition of natural is just minimally processed, no artificial ingredients. Well, all cattle kind of qualify for that, and you can slap that label on almost any beef. There's also programs that go through withdrawal, a prescribed period of withdrawal time of no antibiotics, no implants, and then there's residue testing. I've tested the product, haven't found anything, so it's natural basis on that. But for Coleman, it's always been the no antibiotics, no added hormones, no all these vegetarian fed, no animal byproducts, how the animal was raised, right. And obviously then source verified, and that's what has differentiated us, and we've been coined with never ever from birth to consumption, so to speak.
Okay. And Mel, are you seeing a lot of demand growth for natural beef?
There were some studies that have been done that have projected that the growth, these studies were done in 2004, so we're pretty close to the middle of that time, but it was a study that said that over the next 5 years that the natural and organic category in beef would grow at a rate of about 134%, and I believe that we're tracking toward that.
So for the cattlemen that might want to serve the natural market, how do they get started or at least get information on this?
One of the questions that always comes to us is, are vaccines allowed? And they are in fact allowed, so you can still vaccinate and you can protect your animal from those viral diseases that vaccinates work for. But also there's some record keeping required. We need to know, birth, source of origin, and then this chain of custody has to follow all the way through the program so we can verify where these animals came from and that the protocols have been adhered to.
Okay, great information. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us today. For more information on this topic, you can visit our website at cattlementocattlemen.org. This week, we're visiting another Regional Environmental Stewardship Award-winning ranch. Let's head to French Glen, Oregon, where the Roaring Springs Ranch is focusing on sustainability.
In the big open country of the Roaring Springs Ranch in southeast Oregon, cattle graze on range that slopes up from the floor of the Cattlemen Valley to more than 7,500 feet in elevation. With a long history, the ranch had been in decline until it was bought by the Sanders family in 1992.
It was our philosophy, kind of coming in and looking at things, in that a healthy resource is good economics, and we didn't see them as mutually exclusive at all, but actually closely tied together and dependent upon one another.
The healthier the environment we have, the more it produces, and the more economically stable we are, the more we're able to put back into the land, and the more we're able to focus on environmental health.
Stacy Davies joined Roaring Springs Ranch as manager in 1997. Since then, the Sanders family has relied on Stacy to put their vision into practice.
We want long-term sustainability, and we see sustainability being a three-part mission. There's social sustainability, economic sustainability, and environmental sustainability.
Stacy has an incredible passion for what he does. He loves those cows, and his idea of a perfect vacation is to drive and look at the neighbors' cows and see how they compare with how ours are and what they're doing that he could incorporate.
So he came with his energy and his knowledge, started implementing some of these changes in management. The ranch has thrived ever since.
Today, Roaring Springs Ranch includes a mix of private and public lands, totaling more than 1 million acres. It's a cow-calf and yearling operation with more than 6,200 cows making their home on this range year-round.
This ranch, because of the ecological diversity and the diversity in topography and elevations, we're able to graze year-round on high-quality forage. That allows us to be a low-cost producer, an economically viable, sustainable producer.
A significant portion of the ranch is leased from the Bureau of Land Management, which has worked closely with Stacy on a number of improvements, including using fire and other means to fight invasive juniper trees.
Wildlife are dependent on different kinds of plant species for food and cover, and so when you have just one species like juniper, you lose your habitat values. And you lose your values for livestock and other species because it'll remove all the forage.
And yes, we need fire to control the junipers, to control the sage, and invigorate the grassland, the native perennial grasses that are so important to us.
By using fire, reseeding native perennial grasses, and making changes in grazing timing, the ranch's forage productivity has doubled. Stacy has also improved the ranch's riparian areas and streams and tackled a major challenge in protecting fish.
One of the key environmental issues when I came to the ranch was the potential listing of the red band trout as an endangered species.
To be proactive, the ranch entered into a conservation agreement with federal and state agencies to take steps to remove threats to the red band trout.
We came in with our biological knowledge to mesh it with the ranching knowledge that the ranch had and try to come up with some solutions to protect the fish as well as and still meet the goals of the ranch for ranching purposes.
The end result is that the streams have improved, water quality has improved, fish populations have improved, and we've met many of our original goals of improving the fish habitat and increasing fish populations.
With these efforts, the endangered species designation was avoided. Though their land is vast, Stacy and his crew are continually working on the details that allow cattle and the environment to be in balance together, preserving the history and the future of the Roaring Springs Ranch.
My vision would be that we could better bridge the gap to our urban friends, that what we do is good for the environment and what we do benefits them. Having good stewards on the land is better than not having anyone on the land. And our goal is to be good stewards.
Proud of the crew, proud of Stacy, and the fact that you can take a ranch like this that wasn't economically viable and bring it to that viability and accomplish good things on the ground at the same time, benefit the resource.
Managing this ranch, living on this ranch is an absolute dream come true. It's as close to heaven as I think I could ever get.
The National ESAP Award winner will be announced at the Cattle Industry Annual Convention and Trade Show. It's taking place this February in Reno, Nevada. For more details, head to cattlemen.org. Ahead, producers get straight answers from veterinarians when it comes to the myths and facts of BRD. Plus, how congressmen are getting first-hand information about the beef business. But first, here's a look at this week's market summary provided by Cattle Facts.
People have different views of what they think's attractive. And while a SelectVac tag doesn't do anything for this dog, it certainly makes calves more attractive to buyers. In fact, SelectVac calves attract up to $29 more per head. No wonder millions of calves have already been enrolled. Ask your veterinarian or animal health supplier about SelectVac, the premier branded preconditioning program, and raise more attractive calves.
Our Quarter Pounder with cheese is made from 100% pure USDA beef. That means there's 0% anything else. That's what we're made of.
You know there's more to raising cattle than adding pounds and a strong bottom line. It includes a commitment to deliver quality beef. Lean, flavorful, safe, and wholesome. That's why Fort Dodge Animal Health brings you the Synovex family of growth implants. Proven tools for higher performance. Quality, wholesomeness, performance, profit. Fort Dodge Animal Health knows they're important to you, so they're important to us. For more information on Synovex implants, visit us online.
Welcome back to Cattlemen. It can be tough to separate the myths from the facts when it comes to BRD, so this week we're giving producers the chance to ask experts for their advice. Let's take a look.
Here's an opportunity to bring a little clarity to several common questions heard around the country.
A question I have on my retained ownership program is the importance of testing for BVD PI calves before they leave the ranch.
I think it's important to know the BVD status of your calves as far as PIs before they go to the feed yard, but I think it's probably more important to address your cows and bulls in your herd and try and achieve a BVD-free herd.
What about hot weather drugs versus cold weather drugs? Is there really a better season for a different type of drug?
No. From my experience and from the whole veterinary profession, based on live animal samples and in autopsy dead animal samples, we see that in live animals when we take cultures and send them to the diagnostic lab and do an antibiotic sensitivity, that we see that sensitivities don't change that much between cold and hot weather. On the dead animal samples, we see that the same is true. When we take in samples out of dead animals, out of the lung tissue that's affected, we see that those sensitivities do not change throughout the year.
One thing we hear in the fall is that the drugs quit working or the calves just change. How do we respond to that?
If you think back about every fall that you experience, about October, that's the most common question we hear. And I don't believe the drugs actually quit working. It's a combination of lots of factors, weather, more stressful cattle, management, labor, everything that's involved in starting these cattle is enhanced in the fall, and the drugs activity doesn't change. It's all the variables change.
I made the effort to follow a good vaccination program this year, but yet my calves still got sick.
Several reasons for you expecting that your vaccine didn't work, but I'll address just the most common ones that I routinely see. The first one is that the sickness is something that we didn't actually vaccinate for. The other is that we have stressors that are so severe or disease pressure that is so great that we actually overwhelm the level of immunity that's in the calf. And there are certain conditions that suppress the immune system. BVD and the persistently infected calf and cow herd is one of the most common immunodeficiency causing diseases that's there. The definition of vaccination is actually just administering the product. Immunization is actually the process to where we take the vaccine administered and it produces the effect that we desire, immunity.
I hear often that mycoplasma is the reason for tough treating cattle. Is it really the cause of BRD?
The current belief's probably still in limbo is if it's a primary cause of disease. We've been treating mycoplasma, septic joints, and pneumonia since the 1980s. I feel like if we address management, nutrition, and our BRD complex on incoming cattle, we can control mycoplasma.
I don't consider mycoplasma to be a primary invader. Based on my experience of lab samples taken from diseased animals early in their disease stage and sent to the laboratory for identification, I see and the laboratory identifies mycoplasma later on in the disease process as a secondary or third type invader.
Can you justify the cost of posting an animal? In other words, he's already dead.
The post gives us very good information that actually helps verify the history that we've been told about the animal prior to death. We can look at the lung tissue and we can age the death from the time it started until he died. If the owner says that he treated the animal 3 days ago and we see that the pneumonia is 7 to 14 days old, we know what our problem is. We can also, when he complains about the antibiotic not working, we can take samples from that animal, send it to the diagnostic lab, and verify that that drug was a proper drug to give. However, it was given too late and we already had irreversible lung damage and the animal died.
Well, there you have it. The experts have weighed in, giving us good information to help us make better decisions on our own operations. Now back to you, Susie.
To learn more about straightening out the facts of BRD, head to our website at cattlemen-to-cattlemen.org. It's important to educate lawmakers about how the beef business really works. Next, we'll take you on tour as congressmen head out to the ranch. We'll be right back.
Patience may be a virtue, but when cattle are down with shipping fever, you don't have time to be patient. And that's why Baytril 100 was designed specifically for first-line treatment of bovine respiratory disease. For use by or on the order of a licensed veterinarian. Extra label use in food-producing animals is prohibited. Ask your veterinarian for more information. When it's BRD, patience isn't an option. Choose Baytril 100, right the first time.
Welcome back. It's an effort to get lawmakers out of the Beltway and onto the ranch. Recently, members of Congress from Missouri, Georgia, and Nebraska had a chance to visit cattle operations in their home states and learn more about the beef business. Let's take a look.
This was a great opportunity for us to educate a congressman. This isn't about Democrat, this isn't about Republican, but it is about education and helping our congressman understand who we are in terms of beef producers. We opened every door, allowed him to ask any and every question he wanted to. We put a syringe in his hands. We let him look at what an implant gun is and how it works and medicines and feed additives and all those types of things.
We like these congressmen to learn at the source from the people who are engaged in it. Affecting public policy is important, and it's important that congressmen understand the people who do the work.
When the congressman was here during our visit, this was not starting from scratch. When he served as the state senator in the legislature here in Nebraska, the Nebraska Cattlemen had, over the past few years, developed a very good relationship with the congressman, working on several issues, and it's just worked on to be able to help us continue that working relationship as he's moved on in his other ventures.
Well, I've learned that there is beef that exists outside of Nebraska. As a new member of Congress, I tell you what, we can form great partnerships with other states so that we can come together. That's what the NCBA is all about, is bringing together many states, many perspectives, but yet we have a common goal. and using that common goal, again, not only for the benefit of producers, but for the benefit of consumers.
I have no doubt he'll utilize this experience in a positive fashion for the industry.
The primary reason is to equip him with knowledge so that when he is approached on the national level in Congress with any type of agenda, he'll know the facts.
Education is important for these congressmen and congresswomen. It seems each year the average consumer draws further and further away from their agriculture roots and backgrounds in food animal production. The education and information that will be provided on NCBA's tours will be of value to these people to help them understand that the United States has one of the safest food supplies in the world.
Appreciate Congressman Kingston and Barrett both taking time to visit with us. This is a very unique opportunity today to bring two congressmen out to the grassroots producers and let them see not only how they produce the product that they deliver to the end consumer, but also to understand the challenges that they face just in day-to-day operation.
Well, you can sit around Washington and read about things, or you can come back home and see it in person and talk to real farmers. You don't have filtered information, and you can get great access to things and ask any questions you want. So I think one of the best things we can do in government today is get the politicians the heck out of Washington as much as possible.
Well, it helps me understand the issues that folks are facing on the ground, trying to bring science and marketing to bear on producing the best quality and most nutritious meat production in the world. We have a tremendous challenge competing with folks around the world who aren't dotting the I's and crossing the T's. They're not taking the care that we're taking, and we're competing with folks at that level. So it's very important for those of us who are setting the regulatory stage for this. We're trying to help these folks in production to understand what the hell's going on.
There's a lot of distances between American agriculture, and there's a lot of distances between Georgia agriculture. And it's imperative not to let these distances create separation, but to have a common voice in Washington and a common voice here in Georgia. So we've got to work together to do that.
Appreciate your leadership coming here to tell us that you know that it's still important. And it's exciting for me to be able to speak on behalf of these guys.
Everyone is dependent on food, and if we don't have that safe food supply, it makes it very challenging to do anything else. And I think it's important for the congressmen to be reminded of the importance of agriculture and to show them what we're going through and our aspect and what's important to us. I think education is the key, whether that's the consumer, whether that's our politicians, or even within ourselves.
Well, you know, with such a small minority in the ag sector anymore, for us to have a voice in Washington or Atlanta really is getting more difficult. So to have folks come out like Congressman Kingston and Congressman Barrett is significant.
Yeah, I look at folks who are running operations like this, they're in production. And we in Congress should be in maintenance. We should be helping them do what they're doing. And oftentimes that's not the case.
I think the primary message we want to get across is that the people who are involved in production agriculture today, and specifically beef production, are very sincere and very diligent in delivering the highest quality and most bountiful product that they can for the American people.
For more information on the Congressional Ranch Tours, head to our website at cattlemen-to-cattlemen.org. We'll be right back.
2 100% pure USDA inspected patties are only the beginning of what make the Big Mac famous, and that's what we're made of.
Purina's wind and rain minerals are research tested and field proven to provide balanced mineral nutrition essential for cattle health, growth, and reproduction. They're highly palatable so cattle consume what they need when they need it. And wind and rain minerals special formulation resists the elements so they won't blow out of the feeder and maintain their palatability even if they've been wet. Wind and rain cattle minerals from Purina Mills, building better cattle.
It is a beautiful time of year across America, and to prove it, let's take a look at some of this week's legacy photos. Please continue to send us your photos. To do so, you can head to our website at cattlemen2cattlemen.org. Next week, we spend a day in the life of a California cattle rancher. Plus, we'll look at the importance of genetics when it comes to building your cattle herd. And as always, your news and market headlines. Thanks for joining us on NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen. Be sure to tune in next week. A new episode airs every Tuesday night at 8:30 Eastern Time right here on RFD TV.